Hey, Raider Nation, it's Joseph for Zenny62. I want to give a quick shout out to Raider Mac for contributing to Zenny62, and we all appreciate your support, and we appreciate your viewership, and keep watching us. And like I said, your contributions are greatly needed and greatly appreciated. So what I wanted to talk about was the Oakland Raiders. Now, we know Monday Night Football was a great game. The Las Vegas Raiders won the New Orleans Saints at their new Allegiant Stadium. And so I started thinking about what that really means, having played a brand new game at a new stadium with no fans. The irony of having this shiny new stadium and no fans I did not miss on that. We all know there's a pandemic, but stop to consider what really that has symbolized. Mark Davis wanted a brand new stadium and chose not to work out a deal with the city of Oakland for the shiny new penny or the gold token in Vegas. So he got his wish, but he doesn't have any fans. The stadium is completely empty. Forget about COVID-19. How symbolic is that? You left the Oakland Raider fans high and dry for the second time. You move to Las Vegas. You get the stadium you said you always wanted. And the irony of that, even that, is that he doesn't own the stadium. He's leasing the stadium. He can call it his stadium, but he personally doesn't own it. And to top that off, nobody is there to enjoy the Raiders. Now, granted, if they stood in Oakland, that would have been a similar thing, but they would have stayed in Oakland. You mean to tell me that a deal could not have been worked out to keep the Raiders in Oakland? Because I remember all of the talk while Mark was talking on both sides of his mouth, because you would see him tell the Oakland Raider fans who were begging him to keep the Raiders in Oakland. And then I saw locally here in Los Angeles, he's in Carson, saying that he wants the Raiders to come back to LA. And he had all the Raider fans excited who were LA Raider fans, or just Raider fans in general. Let me just point that out. I don't want to make this an LA Oakland thing, because it's not. It's just the Raider fans were just as passionate, the ones that are here. And we were happy, like, oh, he wants to come back to LA. But he was telling that to the folks in Oakland. I mean, the Raiders were formed and born in Oakland. So I have no problem saying that, and I have no problem that I wish they would have stayed in Oakland. Because the more I looked into the fact that he wanted to move from Oakland and was considering coming to LA, I knew that wasn't going to work out for a number of reasons. There was a contentious relationship even with the Davis family and the city of Los Angeles. And I don't know if that was still lingered on when he initially, or at least Mark Davis initially, tried to come back to LA. Despite the fans in LA wanting the Raiders to come, I knew they weren't going to come because of the politics involved, and plus the fact that you already had Kroenke make deals successfully to come to the city of Los Angeles. They weren't going to allow the Raiders to come to that market. Frankly, they would have dominated the market, and that's what they didn't want. But let's stop and consider why Mark Davis did not make that deal and keep the Raiders in Oakland. And could it be that he just didn't want to deal with the mayor? Could it be that he was intimidated by a strong woman and felt intimidated to try to make a deal, or to actually have some pushback from the mayor when it comes to certain things within the deal that she needed, the certain benchmarks that she needed? I think Mark Davis saw, the golden ticket in Vegas and wanted to go there the whole time. I think he never had any intentions to make a deal work out in Oakland. I mean, when you stop to consider the amount of wealth that surrounds the Bay Area with all the tech companies, and to not partner up with any of those to successfully build a new stadium or refurbish or tear down or do something within the property of the Oakland Coliseum, something could have been done. There wasn't enough effort done to keep the Raiders in Oakland because he did not want to stay in Oakland. And that's what's sad, is that the birthplace of the Raiders is Oakland. Before they decided to keep it, when they're still deciding the name of the team, as we all know, is that first it was called the Seniors, and later they figured out, okay, well, let's change the name, and they landed on the Raiders. That was magic. I mean, you didn't even think about the poem, The Autumn Wind, and the blustering wind coming in from the sea or from the bay. I mean, I've always said, what are Raiders doing in the desert? Essentially, what are pirates doing in the desert? It reminds me of that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean where you see a pirate ship broken down in the middle of the desert and there's no water around, and it's just the ghost in the shell of a pirate ship. And that's how I felt when I heard they wanted to go to Vegas. I was angry because I wanted them to stay in California, and by that matter, stay in Oakland, because I knew they weren't going to come to LA. I would want them to come to LA because it's close to me and I could see them more often. But the fact of the matter is, they should have stayed in Oakland. I wanted them to stay in Oakland. But Mark Davis had no intentions of wanting to keep the Raiders in Oakland. And that's sad, because you watch Monday Night Football and all the theatrics, like I mentioned, leading up to that was the legacy of the Oakland Raiders. They show John Madden. They show all the Raider greats, Willie Brown. And throughout the whole stadium, they have pictures of Oakland. But yet, there's no special tribute, enough of a tribute to me for the fans in Oakland. There's no apologies. And Mark Davis didn't even show up, as I mentioned before. Where was Mark Davis? He should have said at least a pre-recorded statement, but he wasn't there. So that makes you wonder how much he really cared about the fans in Oakland. I'm sorry to say that, because as much as I hurt for the Oakland Raiders fans, I just don't think he cared enough to want to stay, and he should have stayed. I'm the first person to would want him to stay in Oakland. You had an opportunity. You should have worked out a deal. Try to put away what I think is your machismo attitude towards a woman in power. You should have worked out a deal with the city and let bygones be bygones, and do this for not only the benefit of the city, but for the fans. Because if it wasn't for the fans, the Raiders would not exist. And I think that was missed in the pursuit of money, in the pursuit of greed. They forgot about the fans who made the Oakland Raiders what it is. So again, thank you again to Raider Mac for contributing to Zenny62. And I want you to all keep it here. And don't forget to like and subscribe on Zenny62 and Oakland News Now. And we'll talk to you soon.